Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever felt that sinking feeling when you know you need help, but you are not sure where to turn or when to ask? You are not alone. In fact, millions struggle with mental health worries and the long waits for professional support. We're diving into a fascinating study that explores a new way to get help right when you need it most, using just your smartphone. This paper explores a really interesting idea. What if technology could help us connect with our support systems exactly when we're feeling down? It is about using social resources, like friends and family, to help us through tough times, especially when we're waiting for formal therapy. So, the big problem here is that life happens, and sometimes our mental health struggles, like feeling depressed, get worse while we're trying to find help. Think about it. You are feeling low, you reach out, and then you have to wait weeks, sometimes months, for an appointment. That waiting period can be really hard, and your symptoms might even get worse. This is where these things called just-in-time adaptive interventions, or JITAIs, come in. They're like smart tools that use technology, usually your phone, to give you support right when you need it. Most of these tools focus on individual exercises, like mindfulness or self-help exercises. But this study looks at something different, calling on your social network. The researchers noticed that while we know social support is super important for our mental health, most digital tools don't really help us use it effectively. They decided to create a JITAI specifically designed to boost our social support when we're feeling vulnerable. Their main goal was to see if this JITAI could actually make people feel less depressed day by day and help them feel like they're getting more support from others. They also looked at how it affected loneliness and how supported people felt overall. But that is not all. They also wanted to figure out the best way to deliver this support. Think of it like this. When is the perfect moment to step in? They tested 3 different ways to decide when to send out these JITAI nudges. So, how did they test this? They ran a 21-day experiment with 120 people who were already looking for therapy and were feeling pretty down. Here is the really clever part. Every single day for 3 weeks, participants were randomly assigned to one of 4 groups. One group got the intervention only when they seemed vulnerable, like feeling stressed or down. Another group got it when they seemed both vulnerable and receptive, meaning they felt ready to get help. A third group got it only when they directly said they needed support. And the fourth group was the control group. They didn't get any intervention, even if they were feeling the same way as the others. This daily randomization is what they call a micro-randomized trial. To figure out when to send the intervention, they use what is called ecological momentary assessments, or EMAS. These are like super short surveys that participants answered 5 times a day on their phones. These surveys asked about how they were feeling at that moment. Then, in the evening, they answered another survey about their overall mood, how much support they received. And other key things. If the JITAI was triggered that day, it would pop up right after their EMA. The big hope here is that if this JITAI works, it can be a really easy and personalized way for people to get social support before they even start formal therapy. What this study really boils down to is asking, can a simple smartphone intervention help people tap into their social network when they're feeling low? And does it actually make them feel better? They're trying to see if using social support at the right moment can be as effective as other digital tools. This is a pretty new area. Most digital mental health interventions focus on individual coping skills. But this study is pushing the idea that connecting with others is just as, if not more, important. Imagine this JITAI being a helpful companion while you are waiting for your first therapy appointment, or even an extra boost alongside your therapy sessions, or even after treatment to help you keep those good social connections strong. The really cool part is that they didn't just test if the JITAI worked, but how it worked best. By comparing the different ways they decided to trigger the intervention, they're trying to crack the code on what makes a JITAI truly just in time. Now, even the best studies have limitations, and this one is no exception. One thing they mentioned is that because they were tracking people day after day, each day's experience is linked to the day before. This can mean that people might learn things over time, like what kind of social support works best for them, which could influence the results. They also point out that to truly know if the timing of the intervention has a special magical effect, they need to do another study where they compare the JITAI not just to no intervention, but to a version where the same help is sent out randomly, not based on how someone is feeling. This would help them isolate whether it is the just-in-time aspect that makes the difference. And here's a common point in studies like this. Just the act of paying attention to your feelings and social interactions through these daily surveys might actually make you feel feel better, regardless of the intervention itself. This is called measurement reactivity. Looking ahead, the researchers are excited to explore how effective this JITAI might be over longer periods, maybe even comparing it to other treatments or using it alongside therapy. So, what is the big takeaway? If this JITAI proves effective, it could offer a really accessible and scalable way to support people who are struggling and are on the waiting list for help. It is about using the technology we already have to tap into the power of our social connections when we need them most. It's a fascinating step towards making mental health support more timely and personalized. Now, it's always good to consider any potential conflicts of interest, and in this case, one of the lead researchers is an advisor and shareholder in a company that creates AI chatbots for mental health. This doesn't necessarily invalidate the research, but it is something to keep in mind as we interpret the findings. This research was funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation, which is a pretty reputable source of research grants. The people who funded the study didn't have a hand in how it was designed or what the results mean, which is always a good sign for unbiased research. And importantly, the study was approved by an ethics committee, and all participants gave their informed consent to participate, meaning they knew what they were getting into and agreed to it. This study builds on a previous, smaller study that showed people found the intervention acceptable and helpful. This current larger trial is designed to confirm if it is truly effective. Well, that's it for this deep dive into the world of JITAIs and social support. What do you think? Could a smart app helping you reach out to friends make a difference when you are feeling down? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this episode helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more breakdowns of fascinating psychology research. Well, see you next time.